Alright, I am back with another video, and today we are doing the next in my deity build lineup, Ilmater. Now, for those of you that don't know, Ilmater is basically D&D's version of, well, Jesus. He's basically this god who was a mortal, I guess, who basically took on, willingly, a lot of pain in order to end the suffering of others. I mean, sound familiar? And long story short, his followers, who the chosen of Ilmater would be, are basically this church organization that go around basically doing their best to ease the suffering of other people, even if that means taking on that pain themselves. Interestingly enough, this, in a weird way, this build kind of has, not this build, sorry, this kind of idea, has similar kind of basis as Leviatar, which is basically Ilmater's polar opposite, and they are kind of rivals, and... Oh, okay, you're just going to walk into my shot. You're just going to saunter... You just wanted to make yourself part of this bit. Oh, no, off she goes. That's going to keep happening, isn't it? Well, we roll with it. Anyways, and as both Ilmater and Leviatar are all about kind of taking on pain, whereas Leviatar is more about doing it for slightly less altruistic reasons. Ilmater is all about bringing pain onto yourself so that you can heal the suffering of others, and I think that's really interesting. And Ilmater actually has a pretty strong connection to the actual world of Baldur's Gate in this game. As you can see, I'm literally standing in the Open Hand Temple, which is a temple dedicated to Ilmater and his teachings, and there's even books referencing the connections of the Open Hand to Ilmater itself here in this very church. So it was automatically decided that this was going to be an Open Hand monk in some way, which a lot of people, when they kind of requested this deity build, or even a long time ago, back when the original series was running, basically said, hey, you gotta make Ilmater a monk. And, well, I mean, you saw the thumbnail for this video, which kind of shows off the classes. Anyway, we're going to be starting off as a monk. This is going to give us a bunch of stuff that we want. Martial arts, unarmed defense, and she's done it again. I'm going to pretend she's not there. This is what I love about recording videos just on the fly without a script. This shit happens. It's pretty funny. Anyways, so we're going to be starting off as a monk, like I said, unarmed defense, being able to buff our unarmed strikes, being able to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, all of that good stuff. Basically kind of just being this monastic, traveling monk who goes around, you know, spreading teachings and healing the wounded and the sick and all that, while also being able to kick some arse if evil comes their way, which I absolutely love. So starting off as monk is a pretty good start for us anyway. As for our ability scores, we have a pretty standard stat spread here. I wanted to make this more of a dex-based monk because that felt more appropriate here, so I've left strength at 8. Dexterity is at 16, of course it is our main attacking modifier. Constitution is at 14. I would not mind this being higher if it was possible, but we just need other stats more. And again, this build will do quite well with that amount of HP. I mean, we have a lot of kind of skills in our repertoire to kind of mitigate damage and such anyway, as well as raising our AC and such like that. I mean, the monk gets things like that pretty naturally, so I'm not as worried about it here. We will have a slightly lower HP pool in the long run, so feel free to adjust this if you like. You may even find a certain piece of equipment that you want to buff your constitution instead, or perhaps if you know some other methods, go for it. But, you know, 14 will do just fine. Intelligence is at 8, we don't need it, as do most builds in this game, unless you're specifically building a wizard or something. It's kind of a shame how little intelligence gets used here. Artificer update when. As for wisdom, we want that pretty high. We're going to have that as our second highest stat, being a 16 as well. Basically just giving us stuff for all of our spell casting, which we're going to need, and our unarmed defense as well. And finally, charisma, because I feel like someone who is kind of in this position, who has done a lot of traveling, would probably be quite a bit charismatic. It's not going to make you the main face of the party, but it's just kind of a nice stat to have. You can put this into other things if you so desire. As for our skill proficiencies, I have gone with the Acolyte background for obvious reasons, as well as put our proficiencies into Acrobatics and Stealth. Stealth just kind of feels right on a monk anyway. They are generally very nimble characters, but history could also make sense here, and of course because of our background we get Religion and Insight anyway, which is perfect for us. Next up, at Monk level 2, we're going to be getting our usual stuff here, like improved unarmoured movement, allowing us to gain even more movement speed, which is always nice, as well as patient defense and step of the wind, dash, and disengage. Patient defense is probably going to be one of the more important ones for this video. I usually kind of gloss over this part, but patient defense is going to have some nice synergy with some equipment that we'll be wearing later. I mean, it's just a nice overall defensive spell, especially if this build kind of gets into one-on-one fights or is kind of stuck in the thick of it with a group. Just being able to impose disadvantage on all attack rolls against you is really, really nice and something that we quite like to have here. Next up, as for our subclass at level 3, I mean, it's already obvious we're going with Way of the Open Hand. It is literally Ilmater's teachings. Way of the Open Hand is going to give us a bunch of ways to kick some serious arse. I mean, we could certainly deal out some suffering as well if we need to by smiting evil. This is going to give us augmented flurry of blows attacks to use on our bonus action, topple, which will allow us to knock enemies prone, and disrupt their concentration, which I recently learned was a thing and somehow didn't know that in all my 100 hours of playing because it just never happened to me. Thanks, Steel Watchers. We also have Flurry of Blows Stagger, allowing us to stagger targets and push to push them away. Probably going to be sticking with Topple or Stagger for sure. As for... yeah, that's pretty much it, actually. There's some other stuff we get here too, like Deflect Missiles, allowing us to use our reaction to reduce the damage from ranged weapon attacks by 1d10, plus our dex modifier, plus our monk level, and if the damage is reduced to 0, we can use a key point to deflect it back, to deflect the projectile back at the person who fired it, which I think is really cool. Like, again, it kind of goes into that kind of whole thing about deflecting suffering, except in this case, we're deflecting it away from us and into the face of the archer over there, which... archers are annoying, so they kind of deserve it. Next up, at Monk level 4, we are going to be getting our first feat. And, I mean, this one feels pretty obvious. I do just kind of want to grab that buff to our dexterity to give us an overall AC buff, a power buff, all that good stuff. No reason not to take this here. No Tavern Brawler in this build. I'm being good this week. Next up, at level 5, we're going to be getting extra attack, which is great, as well as Stunning Strike, allowing us to stun targets with our melee attacks, which is pretty good, as long as they don't make the saving throw, in which case, And finally, at Open Hand Monk level 6, we're going to be getting the best features from Open Hand Monk. We're going to be getting improved unarmored movement, getting us a bit more movement speed, key and power strikes, so now our unarmed strikes overcome resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. We can now augment our unarmed strikes with, you know, more necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage. Radiant damage is definitely going to be the one we're picking for this build, as it makes the most sense. And we're also going to get wholeness of body, allowing us to do a bit of healing, regain half of our key points, and also put us into a temporary state of wholeness, where we have an extra bonus action. You are showing up more frequently. No, I don't care. So yeah, basically giving us 3 turns of Thief Rogue, which is nice. At level 7, we're going to be dipping out of Monk and heading over to our main other multi-class, and this one's pretty obvious. We're going with Cleric. And for our subclass, again, obvious, we're going to be taking Ilmater's only domain that's available to us in the game, the Life Domain. With Life Domain, we're going to be getting a few things, namely Cure Wounds and Bless added to our spell list for free without needing to prepare them, so that's quite nice, and Disciple of Life, allowing us to empower our healing spells, regaining additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. We want to be doing a lot of healing with this build. This is primarily a support build. While we absolutely can kick some arse when necessary, I want this to be primarily a support build because that feels right. Now, and I would actually probably recommend taking a couple of levels of Cleric a bit earlier on, so you can get things like the level 2 feature, this sort of thing here, some basic healing spells, as well as picking your Deity, which we can pick Ilmater, allowing us to get that Ilmater-based dialogue as we play throughout the game. So maybe a 1 or 2 level dip into Cleric after the first level of Monk might not be too bad. You are going to feel a delay in your overall power, but again, that support is going to feel really good in the early game as well. It's entirely up to you. Pick your poison. I would definitely recommend a 1 level dip just for the dialogue anyway, like I normally do, which I for some reason forgot to do with this leveling scheme. Been a bit all over the place today. However, you know, you can take these levels now and it will also be fine. Play this build however you like. As for our cantrips, we get 3, and I don't really want to take an offensive cantrip yet. Again, we're mostly about kind of just punching dudes at the moment, and our wisdom isn't really high enough where I think Sacred Flame is going to be that effective. So let's just grab the conversation-based cantrips for now. Thaumaturgy, Guidance, and Resistance. Guidance and Thaumaturgy are going to be great. I kind of like the idea of having advantage on intimidation checks, like there's some kind of guy who is maybe like maybe about to like mug someone in an alleyway, you just happen to be walking by, and you turn and look at them, and they're just like, oh, what's the fancy, church woman gonna do? And then you just stare them down, and they're just like, okay, damn. That was a weird made-up scenario I just made up in my head, but hey, isn't that what D&D is all about? Just making stuff up. Isn't this whole channel about making stuff up? About living in a fantasy? Trying to separate ourselves from reality as much as we can, so the existential dread of the world that we live in doesn't slowly crush our souls until there's no creativity left. As for our prepared spells, we can grab... I couldn't stop myself from laughing. God damn it. As for our prepared spells, we get to pick a few. Obviously, we're taking Healing Word. Shield of Faith I quite like, because it would give us a bit more armor class and cost for our concentration, and this build kind of likes having more armor class. We get a decent amount by the end, but more is always welcome. And Guiding Bolt, of course, we want to, if we're going to be making a Radiant-based monk, we want to be able to fire Key Blast, and Guiding Bolt is as close as we're going to get to that. But the main thing I want to pick up here is Sanctuary. Not only is Sanctuary one of the best strategic utility spells in this game, it also feels extremely on board for this. If you're trying to protect someone who is suffering, maybe from, a hostile encounter, cast Sanctuary on them and defend them with your own life and body. I think that just makes so much sense for this character anyway, as a spell I was going to pick regardless, but I feel like it has a nice unique bit of flavour in this build that we wouldn't normally touch on. Next up at Cleric level 2, we're going to be getting our big kind of feature for this subclass, Preserve Life, which is just a flat bit of healing based on our total level, and it's really good. It's always flat healing, there's no rolls to it. You again regain a pretty decent amount at the max level. It's just great. I really, really love this feature because it is just the perfect support ability. It costs our Channel Divinity slot, but we will have a couple of those by the time that we're done, so you're going to be able to get this off pretty consistently, and again, you will find it comes in clutch in the situations where it's necessary. People say that healing in general in both D&D and Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of weak, but I find with things like Tactician and Honor Mode, it actually is much more worth it in this game. Life Clerics especially, and when combined with certain equipment, you can heal entire health bars with a single spell if you know what you're doing. And maybe it's a bit less useful in tabletop, and that is kind of by design, but I find Baldur's Gate 3 is video gamey enough where having a dedicated healer in the party is actually quite nice, but again, it's down to personal preference. We get to prepare another spell at this level. The game has picked Create, Destroy, Water for us, and I'm not going to argue. Next up at Cleric level 3, we're going to get access to level 2 spells, and our life domain is going to add some really nice ones right off the bat, that being Aid, allowing us to give ourselves and our allies more maximum hit points. Unfortunately, we're only going to be hitting level 3 spell slots with this build, because Monk doesn't get spell slots, they get key points, so we're not going to be getting as much out of this spell, only an extra 10 hit points, but 10 is better than none, and it's across the whole party, so you never know when that extra little bit of tankiness is going to come in handy. We also can pick up Lesser Restoration, which will allow us to cure a creature from disease, poison, paralysis, or blindness. I mean, I was going to pick this spell for the flavour anyway, so giving it to me for free? Say less. As for our level 2 spells, we can pick up a couple. I'll drop Create or Destroy Water for now, in order to pick up 2. Warding Bond is going to allow us to literally take on someone else's pain in order to lessen it for themselves by giving it to us. We ward an ally, giving them resistance to all damage and a +1 to their armor class and saving throws. But each time they take damage, we take the same amount. So for an exchange of making all of our ally or our chosen ally take less damage, we ourselves are going to take that same damage as well. It's literally an Ilmater spell, how can I not include it here? I'm also going to go for Prayer of Healing, allowing us to get a big dollop of healing outside of combat. I feel literally praying to Ilmater for greater health is something this character would absolutely do. Next up, at Cleric level 4, we are going to be picking up another feat, and since we are deep into the Cleric stuff now, we're going to want more Wisdom, giving us 18 Wisdom. Unfortunately, getting this Wisdom buff as late as we do does kind of suck. I mean, if I wasn't playing to the character archetype here, I definitely think a 17 in Wisdom with Ethel Spoon would really help this build out. But honestly, this character would absolutely not do that, so I couldn't really include it here. This build, as great as it is a support build at the end of the day. While Wisdom is great for allowing us to be able to use things like Guiding Bolt with a bit more efficiency, and it does help out our healing spells a little bit, we're mainly focused on supports and our punching, so I feel like if you're going to be offensive, you're going to want to use your punches, and your Wisdom is mainly going to be for healing and unarmored defense. So, you know, The progression in this build is a bit weird, but it definitely still works. As for our cantrips, we get to pick one, and yeah, let's just get Sacred Flame. I mean, the other two are okay, I guess. Or three, but I guess Sacred Flame does make the most sense. And now that we have the slightly higher Wisdom, it's more likely to hit, so might as well pick it up. And as for our extra spell, I mean, the game chose Hold Person for us, which would be a powerful option, but I don't think that's something this character would have. I feel it's a little bit too... not evil, but it just doesn't feel right. So I would say pick whatever you like here. In fact, I think the most flavorful option would be Calm Emotions, making it so humanoids can't be charmed, frightened, or become enraged. It's literally just de-escalating a situation. At level 5, we're going to be getting a bunch of things. The Turn Undead feature that I forgot to mention earlier will now deal radiant damage to undead, which is nice. We also gain 2, now that we're up to level 3 spells, we get 2 from our domain. Revivify, allowing us to revive a companion, returning them to life with 1 hit point, again, feels very on theme. And Beacon of Hope. All of your allies will regain the maximum amount of hit points possible when healed. They also gain advantage on wisdom saving throws and death saves. If I was playing this build 100% to character all the time, I would basically have this up as often as possible, just giving everyone the maximum amount of healing that we can. But of course, at level 3... we get Spirit Guardians. And it's powerful. You're going to get the best out of the radiant damage from it for this build, and just, I mean, it's great. We have extra movement speed from Monk, which is going to make this even stronger, because we can just move around the battlefield, hitting everyone we like. I mean, as much as I would love to have Beacon of Hope up more, Spirit Guardians would be the more powerful offensive choice, especially when you are playing a melee character like Monk that wants to get in there and get dirty. It's just more free damage, so you're going to want to use this, but if you really want to roleplay and make me a very happy person, use the other spell, because it makes more sense. And of course, we're a healing build, we're picking up Mass Healing Word. And finally, at Cleric level 6, we're going to be picking up our second channel Divinity Charge, which is great. That's 2 preserve life now per short rest, as well as Blessed Healer. When we cast a healing spell of level 1 or higher on another creature, we regain hit points equal to 2, plus the spell's level. So now, when we heal others, we're also healing ourselves, meaning we're going to be able to keep ourselves basically keep ourselves alive much longer. This build is going to find a good balance, because the thing is right, you have options for healing both as an action and a bonus action, as well as having options for attacking as both an action as a bonus and a bonus action. So you're never going to have to choose between healing or fighting. You can always do both, whether you heal with your main action and flurry of blows on your bonus action or something like that. So you're going to be able to keep yourself alive pretty long, despite our lower HP coming out at a total of 87. So yeah, you're gonna feel quite, not tanky, but like more of a I'm healing so fast you can't actually kill me type vibe. So, you know, I think that works. As for our prepared spells, we do get 1 extra spell at this level, and this really is a pick whatever you like situation. I think, again, a character that wants to go around healing people would definitely bring Remove Curse, touching a creature or an object to remove all curses and hexes affecting it. Very niche, has some quest applications, but overall, probably not going to come up too much. But it's thematic for this build, so I'm taking it. And that is the build. Overall, you're going to be getting a lot of support out of this build. You're going to get tons of healing, you're going to get things like Guiding Bolt to allow enemies to be hit with advantage, but you're also, and also obviously, like I said, Beacon of Hope to be able to heal your allies much more effectively. You're also going to be great at supporting your allies with things like Guidance, Warding Bond, Sanctuary, Shield of Faith, Aid, all that good stuff. But with that, you're also going to be able to kick tons of butt, quite literally, with your ultra powerful unarmed strikes, if we just trigger the passive, as giving our unarmed strikes a very decent amount of damage, 1d6 plus 8, with an extra 1d4 radiant damage, which I'll get to in a minute, plus an extra 1d4 plus 4 radiant damage on top of that. Your unarmed strikes are going to be quite strong. Since I've started doing these Act 3 test runs, I mean, you would have seen it the combat footage at the beginning, this build is definitely one of my ones that can hit pretty damn hard, despite being a support character. So you're getting a bit of the best of both worlds here, and I absolutely love it. Let's get into the equipment. Now, the actual equipment for this build is fairly bog standard, not too much interesting going on here. It's pretty standard monk kit. I've obviously decided to go with no weapons. That felt pretty appropriate for this character, and I'm pretty sure this character would basically always have the non-lethal attacks toggled on. So you're basically just going to be knocking people out throughout your playthrough, which feels pretty good to me. As for our outfits, let's go through it. We have the Hat of Uninhibited Kashigo. After dealing damage with an unarmed attack, the wearer gains a +1 bonus to their spell save DC until the end of the turn. It has just occurred to me that I've equipped this, but I forgot to get any actual spells that have spell save DC. So if you were using something like Hold Person or Blindness or something like that, this would help out. But I've kind of done a bit of an oopsie here. Again, these builds were actually designed on stream with us as a community, and this felt like a pretty good option to get early on, and it kind of looks cool if you go for like the hood, as it kind of matches the rest of the thing, but you can kind of replace this with whatever you like. It really doesn't matter. I just kind of wanted to go with the full Kashigo set as well, because again, Monk of Ilmater, this is also kind of their thing, and it looks badass. It's one of my favourite armor sets in the game. So overall, you could swap this out if you like, but if you're using the spell save DC spells, this will help. But honestly, you could swap this out for anything you like. It really doesn't matter. But this is an early game option as well, so, you know, pretty good. Speaking of early game options, the Armour of Uninhibited Kashigo. While Patient Defense is active, the wearer can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses. Basically, we now have a kind of unarmed riposte, which is really nice. It's just a bit of extra damage we can get at the cost of a key point that also makes it so enemies have a harder time hitting us. It's overall a net positive, and again, one of the better looking armor sets in my opinion. However, once you get to Act 3, there is a flat upgrade in everything but looks. This is the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. When the wearer succeeds a saving throw against a spell, they regain 1d4 hit points, but the wearer can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses, regardless of patient defense, and we get a +2 to our armor class, riding it out to a nice 20. My only problem is that I absolutely hate the way it looks. I mean, that's a personal preference. I mean, you might like this. I just think it's a bit weird. If we got rid of the long whatever these things are, this armor set would look pretty cool, but and again, this is a straight stat upgrade, but I would maybe wear this one with camp clothing. I personally prefer the look of the Armour of Uninhibited Kashigo more, and it will do the job, but obviously the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation is a straight upgrade. Next up, the Seraphic Pugilist Gloves, allowing our unarmed attacks to deal an additional 1d4 radiant damage, as well as giving us a free usage of Guiding Bolt at level 4, once per long rest. This is a Act 3 option that's basically just going to give us a bunch of extra radiant damage on our strikes, which is what we want, but an earlier Act 1 option that does something similar is the Gloves of Cinder and Sizzle, basically trading out that radiant damage for fire damage and giving us a usage of Scorching Ray. A little bit less on theme, but it's going to give you a similar power boost on your unarmed strikes to this. It's just, you know, we're swapping out radiant for fire, but I would definitely pick up the Pugilist Gloves once you reach Act 3. And finally, we have the Boots of Uninhibited Kashigo, when allowing the wearer to deal additional damage equal to their Wisdom modifier with unarmed strikes. Again, a straight power boost that basically completes the armor set looks-wise for us, so I wanted to pick it up. But it is an Act 3 option, unfortunately, so a decent option you can pick up in Act 2 in the meantime is the Adjust the Evasive Shoes, giving you a +1 bonus to Acrobatics and Armor class, which will do quite nicely for us. It's just a pretty solid generic option until you get the things that we actually want. As for our amulet, we have the Unflinching Protector amulet. When an ally nearby is targeted for an attack of any kind, you can use your reaction to make that attack automatically miss. This effect can only be used once per short rest. Basically, again, completely negating someone else's suffering, which is exactly what this build is after. However, I will point out that the Sentient Amulet questline is something you will definitely want to go along with in this build, picking that up in Act 1 and taking that all the way to the end, because that questline would be perfect for this build, no spoilers. As for our rings, these are the fairly obvious healing setup. We have the Whispering Promise, allowing us to, whenever we heal a creature, they gain a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. Basically, free bless for healing, which we're going to be doing all the time. As well as the Ring of Salving, just allowing us to restore an additional 2 hit points every time we heal another creature. So we're constantly going to be giving off even more HP. And again, mixing that with our, ability to, if we use Beacon of Hope to ensure the maximum amount of healing, then we're just going to be healing over and over and over again for a lot of, healing, for a lot of HP. Again, this is a pretty solid support build, and that is the focus of it. But again, it's a nice mix of that kind of offense and healing support that I kind of like with this build, and it feels very on theme for Ilmater. And that is the build. I'll have the combat footage playing now as I did at the beginning. And as you can see, again, the Steel Watcher strikes again. I set up Spirit Guardians at the start of the combat round, only to immediately get knocked prone and have it stopped. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to find another, like, easy-to-reach kind of semi-easy, semi-difficult encounter to be able to test these builds on, because Steel Watchers are kind of just raiding on my parade right now. They're good for what they're trying to do, but it just makes things a little bit more difficult. Maybe I just need to make better builds. Who knows? But as you can see, this build, like I say, we don't really do a lot of healing in this, kind of just pumping ourselves up a little bit when necessary. We're mainly just focusing on pure damage here, and as you can see, this build, it's a monk. It's an open hand monk at the end of the day, which is one of the strongest defensive classes in the game, and it shows through here with absolutely no worry. I mean, this build just goes pow, 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 and that's it. They're dead. But Steel Watcher goes down fairly quickly, all things considered. We even get to go back in during its detonation to, you know, do enough damage to reduce it to 1 HP and then still get out of the explosion radius, which I thought was pretty funny. Anyways, as for end of video stuff, bit of a weird week. Like I said, we had a surprise bonus upload earlier in the week, and that went over really, really well. The Howson video will be going up the day I'm recording this. I'm recording this on the Wednesday, so I'll be interested to see how that goes. It kind of starts the Origin Build series, and we're kind of getting into a new phase of the channel now. We just hit 7,000 subscribers literally last night, which is awesome. So I'm kind of going into a new phase of things. After taking that week off and kind of seeing what it did to the channel, it kind of made me want to hit the grind even more, in a weird way of saying that. But you kind of get what I mean. I've kind of just started to record videos much closer together, so you may notice a slight disconnect from when videos are recorded to when they're uploaded. Usually up until now, when I recorded videos, other than like certain extreme circumstances, they would have been recorded the day prior to them being uploaded, hence that every other day upload schedule. And that kind of allowed the videos uploading and the videos actually being made to kind of be really close to each other, allowing for more like of a real-time situation. But now I'm thinking I want to start recording videos ahead of time, basically recording a video every day and then uploading it through the usual set schedule, which of course, as I kind of generate a backlog of videos to upload, that is going to kind of create a disconnect as to the recording time and the upload time, so things may change in the between whiles, in which case I'll update the description. But this also means I'm going to be also uploading videos on Sundays now, and this is where my kind of more experimental content, such as D&D videos and the like, are going to be starting to be uploaded. So, and don't worry, this isn't going to replace my usual streams that I do on the weekends. Those will still be happening as well. This may seem like I'm taking on a lot of extra workload, but to be honest, not got much else going on at the moment. My schedules, at least on the weekdays after work, have kind of freed up a little bit, so I want to be able to, you know, put out a bit more content for you guys, and in the off chance that I do have to take another slight extended break, again, hopefully not getting strep again, but you never know, I can do that without worrying about it. So, yeah, prepare to see a bit more content on the channel. You're going to be getting 4 videos a week now, an extra experimental one on Sunday, whatever that may be. And I'm thinking for Sunday, I do want to do another D&D build this week. And you know what? I'm thinking Artificer. The one class I haven't gotten to mess with yet, and I want to see what I can come up with. And I think I've got a pretty interesting concept for you all. So I really hope you look forward to that, as this will be going up on the Friday, so that video won't actually be up yet. Oh god, I'm going to have to start thinking about when videos go up. Oh, what if I upload videos outside of the order I expected them and they kind of get all, and the timeline gets all weird? Oh no. That's not good. Anyways, I'll stop rambling from here on out and I'll let you guys go. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time, and I hope you look forward to the stuff I'm cooking up. Because who knows if it's going to be good. Certainly not me.